within this area. Maybe he has some good home cooking in the area where he's able to perform so well in Collinsville. But our players are getting into the action here. They are at team preview, and this is Andrew Ding versus Alex Arand, the second top 4 match here at the Collinsville Regional Championship. The winner of this matchup will face Wolf Glick in the finals.
Yeah, I mean, that's a prize you want in and of itself, being able to play in the finals against Wolf. A huge match coming up there, but I think both trainers are going to be focused on top 4. I think team preview certainly important in this one. Something like the Durant does cause a little bit of a ruckus. You want to, you've got to keep the Arcanine in mind at every single point. And maybe, even keep in mind something like Duraludon, which if Durant's lacking certain coverage moves, something that I always find interesting is what 4 moves people bring on the Durant. You've only got 4 slots. You've got some staples. You've got the Iron Head that becomes the Max Steel Spike. That's great. Then you've kind of got to start thinking about it. Do you even bring a Bug-type move? I think in a lot of cases, yes, that's actually the way to go. But then in certain other situations, you've got to be able to be smart about that coverage on the kind of bottom half of your move pool. You've got access to Rock-type, you've got access to Ground-type, you've got access to Fighting-type as well. And the leads coming out on the field, I think, is probably pretty solid for Durant here.
Yeah, Gothitelle Durant is the lead for Andrew on the bottom of the screen, and then on top is Rotom, Wash, and Whimsicott. Of course, Rotom and Whimsicott cannot switch out through natural means on this turn because of Gothitelle's Shadow Tag ability. Rotom Wash does have access to Volt Switch, though, which would do a little bit of damage and then let it switch out here. I'm not sure if Alex's Rotom has it, but this Durant wants to get rid of it.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how surprised are you that Durant Dynamax turn 1?
I wouldn't even say 1. I'd say like -5.
Yeah, -4. It's not a shock at all. And the Dynamax is going to be matched, actually. Interesting to see that it's going to be one of this pairing for Alex. Rotom, not a bad Dynamax choice at all. Is going to be a little bit harder to knock out. But, both trainers saying, this is exactly what I want, and I'm very happy with where we are.
The Durant really does not have pretty strong options against the Rotom Wash specifically, as it resists both that Steel and is immune to a potential Max Quake if he is going for that. But a Max Guard out of Rotom here on turn 1, not wanting to take any damage from Durant. Ally Switch from Gothitelle, no Fake Out. We've now seen through the 2 sets Fake Out, Psychic, and Ally Switch on that. Max Flutterby, showing off the bug move that he had earlier, will go into Rotom's Max Guard there, so he will not have a special attack lowered.
That's actually the most disappointing ally switch of all time, when you get no benefit from it. Like, you show off this audacious little play and you get no benefit. Durant forced into being defensive, though. I mean, Whimsicott's got to go for it, calling it so well. Maybe this Gothitelle isn't going to be sticking around for much longer.
Especially with the Max Darkness aided by the fake tears from Whimsicott. Will be a 1-hit knockout into Gothitelle, taking it down. And unfortunately for Andrew, 1, lowering his special defense, but also that Max Quake, nobody targeted him. So Durant has had 2 ineffective turns of Dynamax so far.
Yeah, Durant max guarded, and Alex called that perfectly and said, no, I'm just going to attack the Gothitelle. Tyranitar coming in, kind of interesting. It's not going to fare too well against something like the Max Geyser. We'll get a little bit of protection right now from the Sandstream, which is nice. Probably trying to break the sash as well on the Whimsicott. But importantly, we're already 2 turns into Dynamax, and both trainers have only attacked once, but Alex got the value out of it. And that, I think, is a huge differential early on in this game.
You always want that Pokemon advantage, and how Rotom Wash is really not too threatened by the Dynamax Durant. That lets Alex be confident enough to target down the teammates next to it. A Max Flutterby, though, from Durant will hit the Rotom this time. Not enough for a knockout, even with the same type of attack bonus and the hustle bonus and the life orb boost. It's still not enough for the Rotom because of how strong Dynamaxing is with your increasing your HP there. Max Geyser, though, from Rotom Wash is going to hit into the Durant. Will take it out because of earlier with that special defense drop from Max Darkness on the previous turn. Takes that in 1 hit and completely gets rid of Tyranitar Sand there, so he is not going to have that special defense boost anymore, and he can't switch out to reset up the Sand because Andrew is down to his final 2 Pokemon.
No, he can't do anything to get that. Whimsicott avoiding this Rock Slide could be a huge issue. He will be able to do with Rotom by catching up with Rock Slide. That's a pretty good, both trainers losing their Dynamax on the last turn. But simply put, Alex has got so much more out of his 3 turns of Dynamax than Andrew did. That turn with the Max Guard on Durant was so defensive, and now he's a Pokemon behind in the count, and Alex has got a number of things in his favor. He's got Rain up, so this Tyranitar isn't getting that super good special defense boost. You know, he's just kind of struggling a little bit. That said, Andrew's forced to reveal his last Pokemon already, and I don't think Sylveon is a bad choice here at all. It's not going to be hitting super effective against the Duraludon, but it's still going to be hitting some pretty decent damage.
What does hurt, though, by that Rock Slide missing is that it didn't break Whimsicott's potential Focus Sash. So now it is going to take 2 attacks to knock out the Whimsicott, and who knows even how it's trained. Maybe it can endure a couple of hits here. Tyranitar will protect, though, for Andrew, and this Fake Tears does not go into that slot, though. Alex has been making the correct play every single turn so far, lowering the special defense on this Sylveon. I'd like to say this Sylveon has a chance, but it does not there. That is a one-hit knockout thanks to the Fake Tears. It would have been a lot of damage anyway from Flash Cannon naturally, but this Whimsicott is just proving critical for Alex.
Well, Alex has been reading him like a book. Andrew's been playing alarmingly defensive. The Max Guard, the Protect on Tyranitar, and every single time Alex has caught him and punished him for it with a Fake Tears and then a special attack to follow up. I think when we come into game 2, Andrew, you know, really never had a foothold in that game. The only damage he actually dealt was the damage to knock out Rotom. He only got the Max Flutterby down and then the follow-up damage from Rock Slide. But you've got to be dealing more damage than that to win these games. That said, though, there's a lot of credit to give to Alex in the way he played that set. He played it so confidently. He called Protects every single time. And even if he started to call them wrong, you know, even if his opponent was attacking, he was still in a good position to pick up knockouts. You know, he knew that the Rotom could take the Max Flutterby. So he goes, all right, fair enough. If you think about it, though, that Max Flutterby could be very important. These are special attackers. They are relying on the Fake Tears drop. And you're kind of trying to balance the playing field a little bit there. So if Andrew decides to lead exactly the same way, I think he's just got to be a little more offensive and just go for it. But Alex, you know, perfect play on every single turn.
And in that way, he can actually go for a Max Flutterby into the teammate, which was Whimsicott at that time, to kind of counteract a potential Max Guard from the Rotom Wash there. Because if the attack is successful, it will go through that Max Guard and lower both of their special attacks. I just wonder what Andrew has when you look at it in team preview as we're getting into game 2, what he has that can really handle a Dynamax Rotom Wash. As you see the 6 that he has, it doesn't seem like he has a grass attack on any of them. And since Rotom Wash has that levitate ability, he's immune to those ground attacks. The only thing he's weak to is grass. So Rotom seems to be able to take advantage of all 3 Dynamax turns because he's not worried about a one-hit knockout.
I don't think you need the super effective hit. I just think you need to attack it. And that was the problem in game number 1, is he didn't go after it. He didn't try and land the Flutterby early, the Max Flutterby, which is just going to be important. He's relying, and as we saw in that game, relied on 2 special attackers in Duraludon and Rotom Wash. So just don't let him do that, or at least make it harder for him and put the pressure on with the secondary effects of Max Flutterby. I think Alex, honestly, may even change it up. I think if you know that you're going to be going against, I don't know, Durant Gothitelle again, hey, just bring your Arcanine in the lead and go that way. So be very curious to see exactly how he does it. No change, though, as we come into game 2. And we're going to need to see a change to Andrew to force the game 3 here.
The same leads from Alex with the Whimsicott and Rotom Wash, and same from Andrew in Gothitelle and Durant. Durant, a Pokemon, as we've already seen, very likely to Dynamax on turn 1 if he was not prepared for a potential Max Guard in game 1 there from Rotom, might adjust and target down this Whimsicott, therefore also breaking a Focus Sash if that's what Whimsicott is holding. So, of course, if you do leave that Rotom open, you know, if you don't damage it, it's not going to be taking any damage, and it'll get very strong Max Geysers.
Yeah, that's an interesting switch, saving Durant for later. I don't disagree with it. I think if it's the focal point of your team, you want to keep it safe. That said, though, Alex is just going to Dynamax once again, and you know, it probably trying to burn through some of those Rotom Dynamax turns a little bit there.
Yep, the Rotom Wash in game 1 for Alex as he won that, so why switch up your game plan if it works so well for you here? Tyranitar switching in does not want to take a Max Geyser, and not only that, but afterwards it would reset up the rain for him. But a fake Tears, not into the Dark type, because obviously it went off and you can't prankster Fake Tears a Dark type. That special defense into Gothitelle. Max Darkness again here will knock out the Gothitelle as we saw in game 1 and lower this Tyranitar special defense by 1 stage, rendering that Sandstream buff irrelevant.
Yeah, that's completely moving the game plan forward a little bit. It's a similar game plan to exactly what we saw in game 1, but Alex has just got rid of that early defensive turn, knowing that Andrew's going to try and adjust to it, you know, switching in the Tyranitar, trying to help out a little bit there, but then just bringing the game 1 step forward and saying, you know what, I don't want to mess around. I'm not going to guard. I think you're going to play to the guard and protect, and I'm just going to go after this Gothitelle. He's now already at a Pokemon disadvantage, and there's going to be a lot of pressure on this Durant Tyranitar to start hitting. You know, Durant can Dynamax. Durant can then go from there and say, all right, I'm going to try and get the Flutterby down. But the combination of Whimsicott, Rotom, Fake Tears, and any attack is still ever present.
Right, and if you do target down the Whimsicott with Durant, as Durant is the fastest Pokemon on the field currently, well, that can actually cause damage because Whimsicott's faster, but Moonblast ain't doing nothing to Durant here. If you go for the Max Steel Spike into a Whimsicott or Max Flutterby into that slot, you're then leaving that Rotom still at very high HP or you know, at full HP at the moment. So it's able to set up Max Geyser or use Max Geyser to get rid of this sand and make its water attacks even stronger through the Fake Tears and with a rain buff. We are actually going to see a Moonblast though, so no Protect or anything like that. Moonblast into Tyranitar does over 50%. It will activate the weakness policy though, so that is, we saw that with the Tyranitar increasing his attack and special attack by 2 stages. Max Flutterby from the Durant into Rotom. No Max Guard, so that's bringing it down really low on its 3rd and final turn of Dynamax. This will lower the special attack of both Whimsicott and Rotom Wash, but what is the counter from Alex? Is he going to go for a Max Geyser? And that is exactly this situation. But without that Fake Tears and Max Geyser boost, it wouldn't be enough to knock out Durant. So instead, Alex will adjust and knock out this Tyranitar before it even does anything, taking its sand away while he gets taken down and putting up the rain. Yeah,
very importantly, this Tyranitar just not given the opportunity to play at all, and the Rotom sticking around. Now he's got the rain boost, so a follow-up Max Geyser in his final turn would be able to get there, I think, against this Durant, even without the Fake Tears. That said, the option is still there. Andrew really hasn't found a good way to deal with this Whimsicott Rotom pairing, and even if he does manage to knock out the Rotom, we can theorize that the Duraludon is going to be in the back, and Duraludon against Sylveon, as we saw in game number 1, just able to take it off the field with absolute ease. So this game looking so comfortable for Alex. I think Andrew's going to have to pull out all the stops and find some really, really big ways to maneuver around this. You know, he's relying a little bit too heavily on Max Flutterby right now to reduce those special attacks, and that option is going to be taken away as soon as this is gone.
Fake Tears from Whimsicott, though, will lower the special defense of the Sylveon by 2 stages, so that's going to be huge, especially if Duraludon is in the back. Max Flutterby from the Durant will knock out the Whimsicott, but that has left the Rotom Wash around here. If he targeted the Rotom, it would have knocked it out before it was able to get this potential Max Geyser off here on this turn. That is what we're going to see. These are Life Orb boosted, Rain boosted Max Geysers into the Durant is still not enough though, as this Rotom will get lower and lower from that Life Orb recoil. Very well enough for Hyper Voice as a single target attack to take it down. So by prioritizing the Whimsicott, it let that Rotom hit the Durant for a lot of damage.
Yeah, I think he was worried about the Fake Tears and then whatever comes in from the back.
Or a Max Guard also.
Yeah, I think he was a little bit worried about that. You know, we do see Duraludon. We didn't see Alex's 4th Pokemon last game, so we will at least get to see that. It's going to be Conkeldurr. And the big thing here is, you know, I think the Durant sticking around and actually having one more turn of Dynamax could be important. If it's got the coverage move that can help with this Duraludon, you may be able to put yourself in a position where, you know, Durant and Sylveon go after this Duraludon. You rely on Conkeldurr not being able to get the knockout that easily on something like Sylveon, and then go from there. But there's a lot of pressure on this Durant, not only to target the right thing, but pick the most important move at this juncture.
If Durant does have access to Max Quake by holding a ground attack, that would be pretty strong into the Duraludon, but the Detect from Conkeldurr, which works essentially the same way as Protect, will stop it from any damage. Max Quake into Duraludon, takes it out with a 1-hit KO. That is the power of Hustle and Life Orb and a Durant that has its back against the wall. He knows he needs to do something to force a Game 3 here if Andrew wants to move on to the finals here in Collinsville. This Hyper Voice, though, will go into the Detect there. So a huge reveal of Detect on Conkeldurr here, but that was because he wanted to activate his Flame Orb, increasing his attack so he can try to go for some pretty strong attacks here.
Yeah, Durant's Max Quake getting the knockout there is exactly what he needed. He needed some way to stop this Duraludon going. And now, I mean, you've got a full health Sylvie on it. Special defense is up 1. I mean, it doesn't really matter against Conkelda. But look at this. The Conk taking so much damage from just the Iron Head, obviously boosted by Hustle, and then polished up by this Sylveon. Andrew Ding from a really difficult early game, I think, against the Fake Tears and Rotom combination, pulling it back and forcing us to game 3.
From the depths of defeat and potentially being knocked out of his chance at the crown of regional title, Andrew is able to bring that game back with his trusty friend Durant there. Not necessarily a late game Dynamax, since he only Dynamaxed on like the third turn of the game. It's not like it was like 7 or 8 turns in.
Right.
But a non-turn 1 Dynamax from Durant is actually something to praise, because so often you just lead it and Dynamax, but he pivoted, he adjusted and switched it out and saved it for later, and that proved to be the reason he won.
I think the lead is actually going to be a really big mind game now. So if they lead the same way, they've both made 2 very different plays, and when they make, you know, they obviously have 1 winning play and 1 losing play each, then I think we end up in a really nice mind game of, oh, well, if I switch out Durant and bring in Tyranitar and save it, you have to play around the Tyranitar and focus it a little bit, and I'm able to get the win. But then if you're in Alex's shoes, you go, well, I'll just play it safe, just protect. And, you know, if we see Andrew just go for it with the attacks and kind of like he did in game 1, land them into protects, not get the value you need out of them, it could get a little bit sticky for him. So it'll be interesting to see if they change the leads. I'm not sure if either of them particularly want to. I think it's exactly how they execute them that's going to make the difference in game 3 here in top 4.
You know, nobody's sleeping on Durant at this point. We all know about its viability in this format.
Well, I've only been talking about it for 10 years.
I know. You've been woke for a long time. But no, so I think Alex might have underestimated the Durant a little bit in game 2, because it performed so poorly in game 1. He really kind of left it to its own devices in game 2, and it proved so critical by being able to use all 3 turns of its Dynamax there. So maybe Alex having to go back to the original game plan of stopping this Durant at all costs.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad idea, and he's spent every game, you know, the Fake Tears Max Darkness into Gothitelle has been important for him, but he takes out the Gothitelle, and then he doesn't actually switch at any point. He just sticks, so it's not the Shadow Tag he's worried about, it's the threat of Ally Switch that he's more concerned about, and I think it's pretty smart to say, all right, we'll just go into this slot over here where Gothitelle sits now. If Durant goes into that slot, you know it's not going to get the knockout before Rotom moves, and I think Fake Tears Max Darkness is pretty likely to get there against Durant with its notoriously low special defense stat. But then if you ally switch, you know, you're either going to get Gothitelle and get a Pokemon advantage, or you're going to get Durant after it moves there and catch it off guard. So I honestly think this play that he played in game 2 was just smart from Andrew. That said, you know, we mentioned it before, Durant does cause a lot of problems if it's left unchecked. And if you're leaving the Durant, especially with Max Flutterby, which we've seen, it's not afraid to throw at Rotom, it's going to keep itself in a great position.
Double Dynamax on turn 1 of game 3 between Andrew Ding and Alex Arand, the winner, moving on to the finals in the Collinsville Regional Championship. If you think this is tough, their final opponent from the winner will also be Wolf Glick, so they have quite the hurdle ahead of them in both this match and finals to win the Collinsville Regional Championship. But again, Rotom and Durant Dynamaxing here. This Gothitelle will not be knocked out, as he finally remembers he has Fake Out, so he can stop the Whimsicott from Fake Tearsing it on turn 1. Max Flutterby into Rotom brings him down to around 30-35% of his HP onto this Dynamaxed Rotom, and it will lower both the special attack of Whimsicott and Rotom Wash here, taking a little bit of Life Orb recoil. Max Geyser, though, from this Rotom Wash, it is going to be a little bit ineffective, as it had his attack drop by 1 stage, bringing Durant down to around 50% of his HP and setting up the rain. Yeah,
that rain's going to be huge for dealing excessive damage to this Durant if he's managing to land another attack on it. That said, I mean, the Gothitelle, the Fake Out change-up, we hadn't seen that yet in this set, and bringing that and saying to Whimsicott, actually, no, I'm not dealing with this Fake Tears nonsense anymore, just wait a turn. Obviously, it's still in play now, but I think that's a really big thing, because if it was going to Fake Tears Durant, that would have been a momentum swing Andrew would have struggled to come back from. There is the option, of course, if Andrew has Tyranitar, to force that in early and get rid of that rain, but I think in most cases, it's not going to change some of the damage numbers enough to make it worthwhile. So maybe saving that, maybe just trying to weave in another Max Flutterby with this Durant right now.
Yeah, so we saw that the Max Geyser actually did over half without a rain buff. So even if he gets rid of the rain, that still would do over 50% since his Durant is below 50. But the Fake Tears from The Whimsicott will go into the Durant. Max Flutterby will fall for Rotom's trap as he goes for Max Guard, not taking any damage. And a Psychic from Gothitelle, the double target into Max Guard here. The only thing that happened was this Durant got even lower special defense.
Honestly, you know, Andrew really didn't seem to care about that play, just throwing attacks at it. Clearly, he's made a statement of intent and said, you know what, Rotom, you're the issue, and I'm going to deal with you. That said, you cannot ignore Whimsicott when it's just fake tearsing you over and over again. It's going to guarantee knockouts.
It's going to punish you later.
Yeah, and that will catch up to you. Whimsicott, another turn where it's just given the opportunity to land fake tears. It's getting now both the Pokemon at dangerously low special defense. There'll be easy knockouts on the following turn. And now the Max Flutterby goes to Whimsicott, so Rotom is still going to be here to do the damage.
And so that is another special attack drop onto Rotom, but it is counteracted by the fact that the rain is up and Rotom has a Life Orb. So he actually doesn't go for Max Geyser though, because he goes for the Max Darkness into Gothitelle, which is not enough to KO. So that second Max Flutterby was huge for Gothitelle to stick around here. But now both of Andrew's Pokemon have -3 stages of decreased special defense, and the Rotom is actually able to tank that Psychic because of Dynamax.
This is absolutely on it's so close. Both Pokemon over on Andrew's side of the field are pretty low on health right now. And then when you bring in something like a Conkeldurr, which has the ability to, I don't know, Mach Punch, maybe, you're going to put yourself in a tricky situation. Dynamax is over for both these Pokemon, and I will say, looking at how low the Rotom is, there could be a nasty turn where, you know, something like Tyranitar comes in and catches it with the rest of the Sandstorm. But do you want to bring Tyranitar against Conkeldurr?
Especially when Conkeldurr has shown Detect already, so he has a chance to not take damage this turn, activating his Flame Orb, and then that would be enough, it looks like, to take down the Gothitelle, even though it is resisted. Plus, you'd be switching Tyranitar in, which would give the Sandstorm tick, so that would not be as beneficial as Andrew would do so. Instead, he will X-Scissor into the Protect, and Ice Punch into Gothitelle there, not even being passive, no Detect there, is able to successfully activate his Flame Orb from the item without taking any damage in that turn. So now it is 3 Pokemon to 3. These players, these trainers are running out of resources here in this matchup, and they're trying to figure out who is going to win this top 4 set.
Well, I do quite like this Sylveon selection again. I mean, we've seen it multiple times. Maybe saving that Tyranitar for a little bit later to when the Conkeldurr has been removed from play. Durant keeping itself safe, doesn't want to try anything too silly, but we'll see exactly what they go for.
Oh, the quick attack has priority, making Sylveon faster than the Rotom Wash, knocking it out with that little bit of 7 HP it had remaining. Ooh. And the Mach Punch from Conkeldurr will go into Durant, but thanks to Protect, he will stick around for another turn. Now this Conkeldurr, if he would like to Mach Punch the Durant, is going to be forced to eat a super effective Hyper Voice from the Sylveon for his troubles.
And the Duraludon is going to take a good amount of damage as well. I mean, think about how he's tried to knock out Sylveon before. He's always had to land the fake tears on it, so he may be given a good little opportunity to try and work around that. We do know as well, the Durant has access to a ground-type move. It's not going to be as good as Max Quake, but, you know, it's going to try its best. Conkeldurr's Mach Punch.
No double Protect! Durant will get knocked out from this Mach Punch. Sylveon, can it take 2 Pokemon at once that are full HP? Flash Cannon into Sylveon, bringing it down under 50% of his HP. Hyper Voice, super effective on Conkeldurr. Not enough for a knockout, but thanks to the burn, that will be able to take it down. But look how high of health this Duraludon is, that there's no way in any possibility a quick attack would be able to take it down.
No, but I mean, you may just quick attack to get a little extra damage down and try and deal with it. That said, Tyranitar's coming in with Sandstream. Yes, both these Pokemon are going to be weak to this Duraludon. He does have Flash Cannon. It is going to cause trouble for both of them. But Tyranitar has the special defense boost from its control of the weather with Sandstorm, saving it very, very wisely. And hey, this Sylveon could at least try and deal some damage. I think he's just going to go for attacks and see what he gets.
Sylveon knocked out from that Flash Cannon on Duraludon. So this is 1 Pokemon to 1. The games are 1 to 1. Superpower revealed from Tyranitar, knocking out Duraludon, and Andrew Ding is moving on to the Collinsville Regional Championship Finals.
Yeah, Andrew Ding coming back from a very tough Game 1, where a lot of things didn't go his